All right, back with another Monday morning tier ranking. Through week 6, we're a third of the way into it. Not technically through week 6. You see, the Monday night games are already on the board because they haven't played. Also, the bye weeks are not on the board. But other than that, let's get into the tier rankings here. Let's talk about it. So, first things first, Titans. This is going to be an easy. Some of these, there's less to talk about. Titans, big win last week. I kept them in the bad tier though, because I still don't think they're great. Still not playing great football. Ultimately, as of right now, it is what it is. The Dolphins are next on this list. They ended up playing a very competitive game against the Chargers. It didn't seem like it was going to go that way. It ultimately does go that way. They're able to have nearly a big comeback. I had them last week in the scrappy tier. Again, they keep losing, so it's like, can I really bump them up if they keep losing these games? Probably not. Probably have to keep them in the scrappy tier. We'll see. I might bump them up a tier. I don't think they're horrible. Defense looked a little better. I still think that they're not a great defense, but the offenses at least look solid, which is good. Like, Tua looks like Tua again for the most part, which is good because he was not having a great start to the season. Jets are bad. Yep, Jets are very bad. Only team still without a victory. I thought they played one of their worst games of the season, and they almost won it. But some weird clock management. Everyone's mad at Aaron Glenn now. It's a whole thing. Bengals, another bad team with, again, Joe Flacco. They tried him. It looked a little better, but ultimately, this is still just not a good team. The offense is, they just don't have a good offensive line. They do have two good receivers, and then a bad defense. Like, two good receivers isn't going to win you a lot of games. Maybe someday it can get them up to scrappy, but for now, I'm keeping them bad. For the Cleveland Browns, I've kept them in scrappy. I feel like they have a good defense, and I think that's kind of what's kept me kind of keeping them above those teams. I guess I'll keep them there. I mean, they're again, not the ideal, not an ideal team, but I do think that there is at least like a pathway for victory for every game that they play. Even if this game got away from them, play good defense, try and run, get enough offensively. It's not going to win them a lot of games, but I feel like there's at least a pathway to victory. There's things they do well, which I don't think I can say really about the bottom three teams right now. You then have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who do lose a game to a good Seattle team. I'm not going to freak out too much. I kept them in solid. I had them in solid last week, but that was prior to Monday Night Football when they beat the Chiefs. I think because of that win, I'm going to bump them. I would have bumped them up to at least feels like playoffs after that win last week, and then I'll keep them there because of, even with a loss, losing to a good team. I'm not going to freak out over that. It was a competitive game, even if the Seahawks ultimately, were able to kind of run out the clock at the end there. Lions, this is the most recent game that I watched, with the Lions losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, I think the Chiefs are good. I had the Lions in Super Bowl contenders. I feel comfortable keeping them there. They have too many defensive injuries. Stop me if you've heard that before. But once you get some of those pieces back, I feel like they're real contenders. Then you have Tampa Bay, who has the best record in the NFC. They're one of two teams as of right now who are 5-1. The Bills and the Steelers are both 4-1. The Bills play tonight. Steelers play, they had their bye week already. But still, with all the injuries Tampa Bay's had, all the players they should get back as this season goes on, to still be winning football games, and really with just Baker Mayfield playing at an MVP level, I'm a Tampa Bay fan. Come on, let's have some fun here. Put them in the Super Bowl contenders tier for the first time this season. They're playing great football. They just are. 49ers, still don't think they're a bad team. Again, another team that needs to get healthy, and unfortunately for them, unlike Detroit and Tampa Bay, whose injuries are, not season enders, at least a good chunk of them aren't, some of San Francisco's are, and some of their important ones are. Because of that, that's tough. And again, losing Fred Warner makes it even tougher. Their record is still good at 4-2, but I think I'm going to drop them down a tier. They were in feels like playoffs. I'm going to drop them to solid just because I just feel like the injuries might be too tough to overcome right now. The Ravens, so I think the idea is I believe they have their bye week next week, and then they're going to hope Lamar Jackson's back, if I remember correctly. So last week I put them in bad because I think they're a bad team. So they have their bye week next week, and then Lamar Jackson should hopefully be back. That is the plan. I had them in bad because without Lamar, they're bad. With Lamar, they're interesting. In fact, I'll bump them up to mid with Lamar. We'll see. I feel like there is a chance they could even be better than that because the defense played a little better here, right? I'll just go mid. Again, will Lamar be back? How healthy will he be? All of that stuff. I don't know. So I'm bumping him up 2 tiers simply because Lamar should be back soon. But yeah, obviously a mess as of right now. The Cowboys, I bumped up to solid. They lose to the Panthers. I'm going to drop them down to mid. Again, we know everything about the Cowboys. Really good offense, not great defense. What else is there to be said? The Indianapolis Colts, who, again, a team that continues to win. Like I said, of Tampa Bay, they are 5-1, and you know what? Again, let's have some fun with it. Why don't we? The Indianapolis Colts, let's put them in that Super Bowl contenders tier. That's what they're playing like right now. Again, do I know that at the end of the season, the Bucs and the Colts will be Super Bowl contenders? No, but it's what are you doing right now? And right now, they are playing like Super Bowl contenders. So I think that this is fair, even if it wasn't their best defensive performance against Arizona. The Rams, again, kind of an underwhelming victory. They're such a weird team where they're just wildly inconsistent a lot of the times. Again, they probably should have beaten the Eagles to let that game get away from them. Probably should have. I mean, really, they kind of let both of their losses get away from them. They could easily be undefeated if a couple things changed. But again, they did beat themselves, and they do have their inconsistencies. So really good team, though. I can't, like, their defense played great. I'm going to keep them in dark horse. Definitely not a huge gap between them and in Tampa Bay and Indianapolis, in my opinion. But the one extra loss, we'll let that be the deciding factor. Chargers, I'm going to keep them in feels like playoffs. Where I had them last week, I'm going to hesitantly keep them here. Now, again, a rough win against the Dolphins, a game they should have won easily, completely let slip through their fingers, lost the lead, but then Herbert and Lad McConkey both make that incredible play to get them the victory. They need to pass the ball down the field more against bad secondaries. They're so locked into their strategy. If they go up against a bad secondary, like, you got to take advantage, and it just feels like at some point down the road that's going to burn them, but probably not until the playoffs, so I'll keep them here. The Raiders, hey, you win a game. I put them in the bad tier. That's not fair. We'll put them in scrappy. They were able to get the victory, so granted against the team in the bad tier, but hey, that means you're a tier above, right? Being able to kind of clearly win, clearly show you are not at that bottom rung. Geno Smith looked competent again, all that good stuff, but ultimately nothing spectacular. So we'll bump them up a tier. The Chiefs, so again, I had them in Super Bowl contenders. I would have 100% bumped them down once they lost to Jacksonville. So then go down to dark horse. Did they do enough against Detroit to bump them back up into Super Bowl contenders? Yeah, they did to me. I know that they're only 3-3. I know the record isn't great, but like, Mahomes is just playing at such a high level right now that to me, I'm still willing to put them in this top tier, which is all of a sudden becoming a busy top tier. Maybe at the end of this video, I'll have to add a higher tier to make that work. Maybe I'll think about that. But yeah, then you have the New Orleans Saints, who, I've been keeping them into scrappy. Another hard-fought loss. That's been the definition of the Saints for just about every week, except for that Seahawks loss, is they play close games that they lose. I guess also except for the Giants game, because they won that one. But, staying competitive against what's a pretty good team. So, yeah, got to keep them there. Then you have the New York Football Giants, the team that won on Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles. Did not see that coming. They were in scrappy, and you know what? I'll bump them up a tier. Let's put them in mid. Still, record isn't great. I mean, it is what it is. They haven't been great this season. Their defense has been very up and down. It had a good week against the Eagles. Granted, Hurts doesn't miss that throw. The defense doesn't look quite as good, but this offense, again, when they're not turning the ball over on 5 consecutive possessions, looking really good with Dart and Scatterboo out there, right? Some fun stuff there. Now, Dart needs to protect himself. Scatterboo really needs to protect himself too. Things like that. But yeah, so some competent play here by the Giants. Most excitement we've had with the Giants in quite some time. So that's fun. The Eagles, on the other hand, rough night for Philadelphia on Thursday. That was tough if you're a Philly sports fan, losing that and the Phillies the way they lost their game. But ultimately, I still think the Eagles are very good. I think that this is a good defense, even if it had a rough night. It's Thursday night divisional matchups. Those kind of things happen. I still think there's a lot of talent here. But they're not playing up to their standard right now. So I'm going to bump them down from Super Bowl contenders to dark horse because of how they're currently playing. Again, do I say for sure that Tampa Bay and Indianapolis will be ahead of Philadelphia by the end of the season? I don't know what I would say in that scenario. That's a different discussion. But ultimately, they're not getting it all done on offense. The Hurts isn't playing great to start. I thought he started the season really strong, has not played great these past couple of games, and right now, I think it's fair to bump them down a tier to dark horse. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers, on the other hand, I've been kind of all over the place with them. I started them with feels like playoffs. I think I bumped them down all the way to mid after one of their losses early on, I think. But now, do I consider putting them all the way up to dark horse after beating the Browns? I think so. Like, again, this Aaron Rodgers thing is working. And I have flashbacks to last year when I said, hey, this Russell Wilson thing's working, right? Like, it looked good for a bit and then fell off. Is that what's going to happen here? I also think about, hey, this Kirk Cousins Atlanta Falcons thing is working, and then it didn't, right? But it's working. It's working right now. Rodgers looked really good against a good Browns defense. The Browns defense is good enough for me to put them in scrappy instead of in bad. Like, I think that was very impressive. And the Steelers defense, well, it's against the Browns. I don't know if they figured it out, but it was a good performance against a bad team at least. But yeah, I'll keep them there. Maybe I'll regret that, but for now, that's where I will have them. Then we have the Denver Broncos. I had them in feels like playoffs. I'm going to keep them there. Again, not the most awe-inspiring victory. Everyone is talking about how bad the Jets looked, and the Jets had a fourth quarter lead in that game. Offense needs to get more. Stop these stupid penalties. They beat themselves right now. Defense is still very good for the Denver Broncos, but offense just has to beat itself. Has to stop beating itself. The Green Bay Packers, who, okay, listen, I know some people will say, they kind of let the Bengals hang around in that game. They beat a team by 9 points. That's not easy to do. I thought Love, once again, played very well. I know he had the interception. That's not good, but other than that, he is playing good football, which you like to see. They run the ball effectively. Again, Bengals are a bad team. The Bengals are a bad team. It is what it is. I still don't have a great grasp on what the Green Bay Packers are, but they are 3-1-1. I think I'll put them in the dark horse tier for this one, which is where I had them last week. Still close to that top tier. Very good team. Tiers are spread out this week. A lot of times there's one tier that's busier than the other. Here we have it pretty spread out. And then the Panthers, who are 3-3. I still don't know how much I love this team just because their losses were so awful. Did you have an impressive win against Atlanta? Beating Dallas is, Dallas is a competent team. I think I'm going to keep them in mid, which is actually, I had them in scrappy. I think they were in bad at one point. I'm sure they were bad at one point. Going to put them in mid. Could they climb up the ladder a little bit? For sure. The record is good. I want to see it a little bit more just because of, history, right? Like, that's not unfair to say. But you know what? This Rico Dowdle thing is pretty good. Like, they're playing good defense. They're, at least competent. Didn't play great defense against Dallas, but no one plays great defense against Dallas. They're playing better defense as a whole. They're blocking well. Bryce Young's playing good football. The one pick wasn't his fault. Like, yeah, it's good stuff from Carolina. They played the Jets the following week. I think after that, they might find themselves in the solid tier, and then some real tests where they play the Bills and the Packers the 2 weeks after that. That's when we'll really see what they are. But for now, we'll keep them in mid with a chance to get better. We will see if they do. The Cardinals, I had them in mid. I'm going to keep them in mid as well. Like, I don't know. Like, what's to be said? They played much better against the Colts than I think a lot of people expected, especially without their starting quarterback still being able to have do some nice things there. That was very impressive. So I still have some, I mean, they find ways to lose games. They lose this one as well, even if they were close. I do think there is talent here. I've always felt like the Cardinals have the talent to be a playoff team, but it's just kind of their dumb losses are hanging in the back of my head. So mid is where I'm going to keep them here. The Seahawks have an impressive win against, a Jaguars team that I have in the third best tier. I'll put the Seahawks a tier above. They're a dark horse. I mean, there's a lot of, this is how fun this season is. Look at all of those teams in the top two tiers. There are 10 teams in those two tiers right now. Seahawks look good. And even, losing to Tampa Bay, that was really a coin flip game that could have gone either way. I mean, and then this past week, beating a very good Jaguars team, that the Seahawks still can play good defense. It seems Sam Darnold is good. Jackson Smith-Njigba is really putting himself in the best receiver in football consideration. And if you think, I mean, if there wasn't that one kind of fluky interception against Tampa Bay, and then the crazy loss to the 49ers when probably should have been an interception, ends up as a touchdown for the 49ers. The Seahawks are legitimately 2 plays away from undefeated. Again, they also you could look at the Steelers kick returner forgetting how the rules work and giving up a touchdown there and things like that, and that Cardinals game was close too. So it goes both ways, but ultimately Seahawks are very good. And then the Patriots, who, last week I put in the solid tier. I felt maybe that was a bit low in hindsight. I'm going to put them in the feels like playoffs team. Again, they're playing physical, good play. And quite frankly, I just thought Drake May was great in this game. I thought he was fantastic. So really good quarterback play. Again, we'll see. Their losses are still so dumb. And even in this game, they didn't dominate a not very good Saints team, but some really good stuff. So yeah, how about this? How about how even this tier list ended up being, with 5 teams in each of the top 4, and then 4 in the second to last, and then 3 in the last. So I always like to keep these, see if, I try to not put it this way to get things even, but it's kind of fun how even it is. And yeah, I mean, it's a wide open year. 5 teams in the Super Bowl contenders tier as of right now. 5 teams in dark horse, 5 teams in feels like playoffs. And by the way, that's 15 teams. All 15 of those can't make the playoffs. At least one would have to miss. So very interesting. But that is the tier rankings for now. Those are my thoughts. Let me know, what do you think about this in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.